Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Man Cave. Hope you're all doing well. Congratulations to Hanna Harper. My gosh, it's so good to see somebody that I know that is a very good person win something like that. Those people are real good people. I've known Galen Harper, her father, well, for a long time. I don't know him super well. I mean, I just know him. We've seen each other at shows, talked, things like that, but not good friends or anything, just friends. But anyway, it's pretty cool to see somebody make it like that. Now, fun fact, Cash, believe it or not, is related to Hanna Harper, sort of, kind of, not blood relation, but one of the Harpers married into one of the Mendenhalls, something like that, or Mendenhall married the Harper. I don't know which one, but Cash's last name is Mendenhall, if you didn't know. But anyway, so they've been really watching it close, but it was really cool to see that she won. I kind of felt like she was going to, but then again, I was biased, obviously, so because I wanted her to, but I kind of felt like she was going to make it and do it, and by gosh, she did. So congrats to that whole family. I have a couple of projects that I worked on this morning. One of them was I put together a welding cart to set up one of my new welders on. So here's a little short clip about some of the welding stuff. Well, I put this cart together this morning. It comes mostly assembled. You just got to put on the handle, the wheels, and this little deal for holding the tanks on the back. I'm not using tanks with my welders. This again is the Mandolin welder, and so far I really like it. I haven't been able to get the plasma thing to work yet, but I think it's pilot error because they sent me a video of how they do it, and it is a touch strike, lift arc plasma. It's not the pilot arc, which I'm used to. Now this is the first test. Yes welder. It says yes welder down there. But anyway, this is a really good welder too. I really like it. This one, I like the interface on this one better. The way it welds and back and forth, they're about the same. I can't really tell much difference. But this one has the plasma cutter, which gives it a leg up. And it also has a TIG, which gives it a leg up. This one can do aluminum. It's got a spool gun option there. And this one can do aluminum without a spool gun, apparently. Anyway, it passed the test well enough that I bought a welding cart for it. And between welding carts, now this is the Yes Welder welding cart, and I bought this also with my own money. And then the Harbor Freight welding cart. They cost approximately about the same kind of money. I think that one was a little cheaper. But this one has a lot more space. This one's really heavy duty. I'd probably recommend that for a welding cart if you need a welding cart and you don't want to spend a ton of money. So overall, that's pretty good. My vote's still up on the welders. I mean, I think I'd have to give this one the edge just because it has more features, but I really like this welder. So, they're both really good welders. If you don't need all these features, I would imagine this one costs more. This first test DP200 is pretty darn good, yet by Yes Welder. And this one here, the MIG 205 DP, you can see all the features it has here. This one also has that cleaning feature, which I've never used, haven't even tried it yet in test or anything. I also haven't tried the TIG on this in test. So I've only done stick welding and MIG welding with this machine right now. But I'm going to test the rest of the features before I put the video out on it. Anyway, just thought I'd show you that in case you were in the market for a welder, and especially a welding cabinet. I think I'd give this one for sure the leg up. This also has spacers here that you can put things in, And then it's got all these extra drawers for all the extra components, which I think is really cool. This one's a lift up type deal, and you can store stuff down there too. So pretty cool. I would prefer that one to be in another drawer. It would have been even better in my opinion, but it's good like it is.
So I've yet to get the video out on that newest welder. I kind of got stuck on the plasma deal. There's somebody just put a comment there. Garland says, anytime you using a plasma cutter, grain, or sand. Don't know. I guess it didn't quite come through. But anyway, they sent me a video on how to make that plasma cutter work, and it's different than I'm used to. The one I'm used to, you just get it close and you pull the trigger and it starts automatically. This one you have to touch it and then, I guess, start it and then lift up slightly. I tried that a couple times and I couldn't make that happen either. Before they told me that, I tried it and I couldn't make it happen. But I've watched their video now and I'll try it again and see if I can get that to work. But right now that part's still not working. Then JR felt like this is something I needed to do. So here you go. Take a look at this.
My friends, I know that most of you think honeydew projects are the tough ones, but you ought to try some JR do projects. My son, oh my gosh, he bragged to some old guy that was making horseshoes that his anvil just wasn't any good anymore. It had too many dishes in it. And JR said, well, my dad can straighten that out and fix it, you know. And so I don't have a my milling machine, I've already told you many times, is just a glorified drill press. It's not a real milling machine. I mean, it works as a milling machine if you're not going into real heavy duty stuff. This is hardened. I've already checked it with a file skates right off of it. So I do have one carbide cutter, but it's only an 1/8 inch. And my travel on my mill is not big enough to cover the whole surface in one pass. It'll get to about right here, so it would leave about 1 inch uncovered. So even if the carbide cutter would hold up, and I doubt it would, you know, I'd have to do multiple passes, move this thing around. And when you move something around, especially on something as unflat as this bottom of this is, when you put it on steel, it teeters. On this wood, it doesn't teeter. But anyway, the point is, you'd never get it clamped evenly to move it and then do it again. So I thought, well, let me see if I can sand it flat on my belt sander. And that would actually work. It really would work. Except that this doesn't have enough power to move this with that big heavy anvil sitting on it. Now that anvil's not super heavy, but it probably weighs every bit of 50 pounds, if not more. And so it's heavy sitting on that belt and it just won't spin it good enough. Though it gave me proof of concept. So I got out my old Craftsman belt sander, put a new belt on it, and that is kind of working. I'm not going to be able to film it because I don't have my camera down here, but anyway, that's what I'm doing, and I'll show you. This is kind of, I mean, you know, I've already done a little bit, you can tell because how shiny it is, but I'll show you what it looks like when I feel like I've done all I can. This is about 15 minutes worth of work, I guess. It's a very slow process. Seems to be working, but you know, this bag was in pretty much pristine condition until I did that. And you can see here it caught the bag on fire. In fact, I had a tough time getting that to go out. Started to burn through a little bit on the other side there. But for sure burnt through in 3 places there. As old as that machine was, it didn't have any holes in that. Unfortunately, it does now. Anyway, it's sort of kind of working, but honestly, it's going to take a lot to get that down. Now, it's really slick now, but that's a deep hole right there. When I say a deep hole, it's quite a bit. I don't know if the camera will show it or not. That on this side, it's not quite as bad, if you can see it there. On this side, it's quite a bit worse. I don't know what that is. A good 1/16 of an inch anyway. And that takes a lot to get that off of there. I'll keep trying for a while. I've been at about 45 minutes or something like that. And I don't know for sure how long, but it's been a while. I don't think I can put this where you can really see it, but it's quite a bit better. It's not perfect by any stretch. I used a whole pack of these, and there's 5 in a pack of sanding belts. Those are 80 grit. I used the whole pack. I learned that you're kind of wasting your time after the first, say 10 minutes. Well, actually probably 5 to 8 minutes. It works pretty good for about that long, and it works really good right at the very beginning. Of course, each minute just diminishes what you're getting. And anyway, for about 5 minutes or so, it works pretty good. And then so I had 5 different belts. The very first belt, it tore up right away, but it was an older belt. But then the next 4 were all brand new, and you could really see a noticeable difference. When you first put it on, it would really cut the steel. And then in just a few minutes, it just kind of quit cutting. I tried a different sander, a palm sander. That's just of no use at all. So anyway, I told JR to buy me 2 more packs of these. 1 to finish up this, and 1 to replace the one I wasted on this thing. So hopefully he'll get those, and I can get this thing finished up. It's it's going to be quite a bit better than it was. It still needs more work.
Boy, howdy, does it need more work. Try to sand, a 1/16 of an inch off of a piece of steel like that, especially a hardened piece of steel. And, I don't know. Why it's my problem, I don't know. It's just, apparently it is. David Tharp says, howdy everyone, I have to watch later, got to go commit some aviation, but before I go, a word of advice, never play tennis with a banjo, it makes a terrible racket. I agree on both ways on that. No, just kidding. Ronald Todd, good afternoon, Jerry and everyone from the West Banks of New Jersey. Wayne Blitz, good morning, Jerry and friends. Hope all's well. Everyone keep it safe. Ronald B5M says, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. Remember, growing old ain't losing, it's winning longer. So keep the faith, hope, love, and smile. Well, I guess I have to agree with you. David Tharp, did you know you can always tell a dogwood tree by its bark? Yeah, I guess you can. B.H. Ringer, good afternoon, everyone from Nova Scotia. And then he says, I'm confused. How can a cemetery raise its funeral prices and blame it on the cost of living? That's another one I really hadn't thought about. Now I'm stuck with that in my head. Thanks. Bill Rhodes says, good afternoon, Jerry. David Tharp, great hide and seek players are really hard to find. David, you are messed up. Joe Cool, may your afternoon be as bright as your emotions and joy. David Tharp, one more thing before I leave. Don't let anyone talk you out of that 3-hour kayaking trip. Those 5 hours may be the most exciting 12 hours you ever spend. That I can relate to. I definitely can relate to that. Gino Hitch, hi Jerry and friends. Have you gone after the big construction thing yet? You still have a lot of good years left. Go for it. Have fun. The big construction thing. I'm not sure what the big construction thing is unless you're talking about adding on to my shop. And I still may do that. I don't know yet. just want to get caught up with some of the things that are just kind of halfway done right now. Kim Z says, hello from Arizona. Bill Webb, good afternoon. C. Wilscheck, hello, folks. Bill Mumbo, hi, you folks. Bruce Ducker, greetings from stormy Central Florida. Bill Webb says, I sure wish I could come and stay about a week. I have got a mandolin that I've got the neck off, and it's given me fits trying to clamp it up and get it glued back. Well, Bill, I have a jig for that on mandolins, and if you watch, some of my mandolin building, videos, somewhere in each video, I'm showing how I glue the neck on, and it's a jig. What I do, I try to explain it. I don't know. It's if it's an F style, the jig has to be made kind of specific to the F style because of that scroll that comes out, and you're going to be turning the mandolin down on the flat neck. So in other words, I don't even know how to see if I can draw it here. Okay, so like a piece of plywood, like a 3/4 inch piece of plywood shaped something like that, about the size of a mandolin body. And this cutout is for the scroll would be when you lay it face down. The top is going to be facing down. Then right about in here somewhere, you make yourself a quote-unquote fake bridge with that fits the curve of the top. So in other words, it sits flat on this board, but the other part of that's slightly curved so that the top sits on that. And it should be about the height, a little, well, it depends on whether you got your fretboard on. In your case, you're going to have the fretboard on. So you're going to want it probably the full height of your bridge, I guess. And then, by the way, this part here should go out like this. I kind of cut that off. This part should go out a little further because your bridge is going to sit flat on that. Your neck is going to lay flat on that. I prefer to use this without a fretboard on. But if the fretboard's on, I guess you could just accommodate for that. I've never really done it with the fretboard on. I always glue the neck on before I put the fretboard on. But anyway, the bottom line is you have to compensate for that with the height of this temporary bridge. And what you do is you clamp the neck down flat on that, and then that temporary bridge holds the body angle at the proper angle you slide the body down on the neck joint, if you will, and you clamp all of it together. You just clamp it still, and it holds it in position. If that makes any sense. I hope it makes sense. I'm not sure it does. But anyway, I show it in my videos, and that's really all you're doing is you're just holding it still in that position at the proper angle because you've accommodated for that with your string height and all that with that fake bridge. It'll be kind of trial and error for somebody like yourself that's not set up for that hasn't built mandolins. It'll be kind of a trial and error. Well, actually, it'd be kind of a trial and error for me because you probably got the fretboard on. And of course, you probably have to take the nut off or shorten this just enough so that the nut isn't setting on this, because you want this to be perfectly flat through here, and everything needs to be perfectly flat. And I even clamped this board to a good flat solid workstation so that everything's really good and flat, and then that way you can clamp it all together, because trying to clamp it just holding the neck and clamping the body and all, that's not going to work, not easily anyway. I'm sure you could get that done, but that'd be a pain in the neck. No pun intended. Anyway, this kind of a jig thing is the way to go, and you will see that in some of my mandolin building videos. In fact, you should see it in all of my mandolin building videos. Michael 2X, Heroes of Meister, Lawrence Coffee, Only Jesus saves. Amen to that. Bruce Ducker, John 3:16. Amen to that. B.H. Ringer, has any company offered to send you a laser cutter, cleaner, welder yet? No, not yet. That would be nice. Those laser welders look really cool. They put such a tiny little bead of weld there, and they seem to be very strong based on the strength tests that everybody's done with those. But that would be great. Trust me, I'd love it to have one. But I tell you what I'm really wanting. I wish somebody would send me a plasma cutting table, a CNC plasma cutting, in other words, a CNC plasma cutter. I can't talk. Sometimes I get my tongue wrapped around my eye teeth and I can't see what I'm saying. Anyway, a CNC plasma cutter would be great. I would love to get one of those. Of course, that's a lot of money, and you never know. You just never know. Garland Edmondson, that cleaning mode might be before striking a plasma cut. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what it's for. And they didn't show that in their video. So I think that cleaning thing, well, they don't even, that's the one negative of this whole thing is their little booklet is really very minimal. It doesn't go into any detail at all. And so it doesn't even tell you why you would ever want to use the cleaning thing, which is kind of the first question I ask is, why do you want to use that? I kind of think it's probably more for the TIG, but I really don't know. They just don't show anything about it. And, they show you how to connect it up, and their video online shows you using it, but it doesn't say why to use it. So I don't know. I got along 70-some years welding without ever using a cleaner, and it's always worked for me. I use a wire brush for a cleaner or something like that. Let's see. Wow. It scrolled on me while I was talking there, so I don't know where I'm at. I'm going back. I'll find it. Okay, there was Bill there. And then there's the cleaner welding table thing. Okay. And the cleaning mode thing. Yeah. And then let's see. Hans Jurgenification from Germany says hello. Well, glad you're here, Hans. And then somebody else is talking German to him, and right over the top here. I don't have a clue. Sue's parents and grandparents, especially her grandparents, were from Germany, her grandparents, and her Sue's a full-blooded German too, so, but I don't think she speaks much German. She knows a word or two, and that's about it. And I don't think those are appropriate words that she knows. Her grandmother used to throw a little fit in German every once in a while. usually at Grandpa. Let's see. Scott Wagner, hello from Whitefish, Montana. Well, hello, Scott. Bruce Ducker, this is one of the best dad jokes channels. Yeah, there's a lot of those, aren't there? Ronald Todd, I know it's hard to do, but sometimes you just have to say no. Yeah, well, you ought to try that with JR. You ought to just try that. He doesn't take no. I'm seriously telling you, he doesn't. He's like the most spoiled brat kid that ever was. I'm he's a grown man, but he's still like a spoiled brat kid, if you ask me. He just doesn't take no, and I'm serious. You just have no idea. John Burns, GPT suggests aeration for your pond, especially because of the 12-foot depth. Yeah, and I am really considering that, getting an aerator type deal. Haven't gotten into that yet. I'm going to wait until I get this bluing stuff, get that going, and then move on. And I agree that the Grok thing said to do the aeration also, and even a fountain it suggested too. Rick's pickin' Eric says someone needs to give you a mill to review. Boy, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, I do need a good milling machine. The one I have, I mean, it's way better than nothing. Don't get me wrong. I have used it a lot and made a lot of stuff with it, but it's barely capable. It really is. Scott Wagner, Jerry, have you ever considered cutting some of your black walnut and selling for guitar backs and sides? Yeah, I have, and I even made a jig to be able to quarter saw it, and I just never got any further than that. But yeah, I have. See, the thing is, Scott, I don't really want to be wealthy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. It's just there's too much to do. That's all there is to it. It's just too much to do. That's all. Gino Hitch, Jerry, the big digging machine. Oh, okay. Now I know what you mean. That's what you were talking about, jumping into that big project. Yeah, it's just that I'm not sure. I mean, on one hand, it sounds silly to say that that's not worth $7,000, yet I think my instruments, my mandolins and guitars are worth that kind of money. But that big machine, I mean, in one way, it's worth the $7,000 that he's asking for it. In another way, it's just not. If you check around prices and things, on one that's in that bad a condition, according to Grok and everything and things else I've checked, it should be more like $5,000, $4,000 to $6,000 at the very most. $7,000 is way on the upper edge for one in that bad a condition, because it's in bad condition. I mean, I know I could fix it. I know I could, but it'd be $5,000 to $6,000 later, and on top of all the work it would take, and it would take a lot of work. And it would be better if I had a good size lathe and milling machine to do that work. Even my lathe is on the smaller side. It could handle anything I needed to do on the lathe, but it takes a lot longer than if you've ever watched an A-bomb video of how he cuts he'll cut a 1/4 inch depth off of something in one pass. I could cut, maybe 20 thousandths or 30 thousandths of an inch off in one pass, which is less than a millimeter. So, yeah, I just don't have the right equipment to take on that huge job. I could get it done. I know I could, and I still not ruling it out completely, because I've just been waiting. I'm thinking about going back to him. He's kind of a mean kind of fella. I mean, he really is, to be just truthful. I'm about the only guy, me and JR both, are about the only people around that get along with this fella that owns this thing. And he's just kind of a rough old guy, and you could offer him $4,500, like I'm thinking, and he could just take it and go, no, I'm not interested. He could give you that kind of reaction, or he could just blow up and throw it right in your face. I mean, he can get really irate really fast. So I'm not even sure it's worth making the offer, because he said he wanted $7,000 pretty firm, he said, So I'm thinking, he's not going to take 45. Anyway, Bill Webb, it's an F style, but there is no dovetail. It's rounded with 2 wooden dowels in it. There's no dovetail. It's rounded with 2 wooden dowels. Rounded with 2. The rounded part's what's throwing me there. Oh, I think like a cupped back of the neck is kind of cupped, maybe rounded. Or maybe it's rounded the other way. I don't know. I've seen them where they were kind of cupped with dovetails, where the neck itself, instead of a dovetail on the neck, it's got a concave round to it, and the dowels come out of that. Well, good luck with that. Really, that's kind of tough. I would still try to use some kind of a jig to hold it firmly in place. And I'm not sure exactly how I would tackle it with the dovetail thing with the dowels until I saw it, but I'm sure there's a way. You just have to think about it. And then Bill says the neck was cracked loose at the heel and glued it twice, but it didn't hold, so I took it off, not knowing what I was getting into. Well, you knew you were getting into a mandolin neck. No, I get your point. A lot of times you open up stuff like that, it is a can of worms. And you've heard me say that before, too. Boy, there's some things I just don't even want to crack open like that because I know what you can get into. I've gotten into it many times. But generally speaking, I have a way to fix it. And I probably have a way to fix that if I could see it. Hugh O'Connor, is there really any sound difference between F-style and other mandolins, or is it simply the personal preference? That's been a debate for years, but generally speaking, most everybody agrees that if all things the same, in other words, it's got F holes, like it's what they call an A-style mandolin with F holes, or the F-style mandolin with F holes, they sound roughly the same. There's very little difference. Now, when we're talking an F-style mandolin, that's not has anything to do with the F holes, if you understand. The F-style means it's a Florentine style, meaning that curvy body and all the curvy shapes and the little points that come off. That's a Florentine style. That's what they call F-style. Got nothing to do whatsoever with F holes. So you can have an A-style mandolin, which is kind of like the teardrop shape with F holes, or you can have the teardrop shape with oval holes. You can have an F-style mandolin with F holes, and you can have an F-style mandolin with an oval sound hole. So the point being, if you have all things the same, in other words, comparing F holes to F holes, comparing oval hole to oval hole, they sound basically the same. The Florentine style is just a preference. It's my preference because it just looks cool. I don't know. It's the way I like them. Bill Webb, thanks. I'll look into that. Let's see. Patty Snyder, how? Okay. How about grinding the anvil? Well, the grinding would work good. It really would. But I don't have anything that I can think of that I could keep it flat, Like if I had a surface grinder, which is a big machine that the grinder hangs down and you run things underneath the grinder and then you lower the grinder just a tiny bit and run it underneath there and get it perfectly flat, that would be the way to go for sure. But I don't have that. And just taking a grinder on a drill, it's not a very good way to do it. You'll never get it flat and smooth and just can't do it. I mean, you could get it done, trust me, but it wouldn't be the quality job. The actual belt sander actually does a pretty good quality job. It still isn't perfect. The milling machine or the surface grinder would be far better. The surface grinder actually would be the very best, I think. Let's see. Robert Davis, hi Jerry. On the anvil, what if you set up your mill to surface one end nearly to depth of the tip of the middle? Let's see. Whoops, wrong buttons. Set up and cut the other end to the same depth, then finish up with the sander. Well, the problem is, I think in that video clip, I think I misspoke. I said my cutter was an 1/8 inch. It's 3/8 of an inch. So it's about the size of your little finger. That doesn't cover very much area. So you're going to go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and about like 20 times before you get all the way across that thing. Once you get all the way across it, you still didn't get to the end. Now you got to move. And then, by the way, keep in mind, mine's a glorified drill press. It's not a real milling machine. So the depth of cut is only going to be about 10/1000ths of an inch. Well, that depression is probably closer to 40/1000ths of an inch, if not more. And so you're going to do that back and forth a bazillion times, and then you got to drop it and do it again, and then you got to drop it and do it again, drop it and do it again, and you still haven't got to the end down there. And then when you move it all, it's not going to clamp perfectly the same, and it's not going to mill out the same when you try to mill it the other way. So, yeah, I mean, you could sand it, and that would be less sanding for sure. But honestly, I just don't have the right equipment for it. If I had a bigger milling machine, piece of cake. Just take a good heavy cutter and, use something that's maybe 1 inch in diameter or 2 inches in diameter where you only make a few passes. But no, my little 3/8 cutter just ain't going to cut it. Plus, I don't think one carbide 3/8 cutter would last for the whole job anyway. And they're expensive. I mean, like that's $40 or $50 for that cutter, I'm sure. So I hate to waste it on that doggone anvil. Yeah, it's just not. Did you ever hear it's not easy being me? Well, trust me, with JR, it's definitely not easy being me. Let's see. And then Garland says, don't forget, JR thinks you're infallible. Yeah, sure. Let's see. BH Ringer says 113 watching, 49 likes. Well, if y'all would click the like button, keep in mind this is how I make my money. It's the only way I make my money these days. Like the instrument work that I've been doing recently, I don't charge for that anymore because they're friends and family, and I don't charge them anything. I make a little bit off the video when I put it out there, but very little. And so it does help. If you click the thumbs up, it just gets the video out to more people because the algorithm says, hey, if everybody's clicking like on this, this must be a good video. And they send it out to more people. But don't lie. If you don't like it, don't click the thumbs up. I don't want you to lie. I'm not asking you to lie. BH Ringer, please hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe. It really does help. Yep, and that's for sure. Bill Webb, yes, the neck is cupped and the body is half round and it just locks into place, rocks back and forth with nothing to get the clamps to hold on to. Trying to think if I could think of my band clamp around the body, the band clamp around the body might help you. Now, I think you said it's an F style though. If it's an F style, the band clamp probably won't help you because that big scroll is going to get in the way. If it's an A style, the band clamp going around it would hold that neck to the body really good. I don't know, Bill. Sounds like you're on your own, man. Just think about this though. This isn't necessarily a failure for you. You're learning a whole lot here. You're learning that next time I see one of these things coming, I'm not working on that. not on that neck anyway. Bill Webb says, and to top it all off, this is a freebie job for a kid who is trying to take lessons. Well, there you go. That's the way it always is. Yeah, it's pretty much the way it always is. I'm trying to think if I could think of anything that would help you on that. The only other thing I've got, and it's really pretty stupid, it's probably not a good idea, would be something like my biscuit joiner would cut a slot down in there or something, and then you could join it back and keep it lined up with the biscuit, But that would take a lot of finagling to get that right too. So that wouldn't necessarily, but something like that where you could get something in line and line it up. 16 penny nail. I'm just kidding, but I've seen people do stuff like that. Don't do that. Anyway, I don't know. I feel for you, man, but it's not simple. Pretty soon you'll be saying it's not easy being me. Marcus Borelius. What about the Arc Captain welder? The Arc Captain welder is very good too. Because I got these bigger welders, I went ahead and I liked the Arc Captain welder. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it at all. In fact, it was one of my favorites. But I did give it to one of my relatives. I can't remember who now. But it's a real good welder. But keep in mind, it's a 110 welder, I believe. I don't think it was 220. These are heavier dutier welders. But the 110 welder, for a 110 welder, that thing was really good. Very good, in fact. Bill Webb, tried that and the band clamp isn't holding. Okay. It's probably sliding off. I'll tell you another clamp method that works, and I was actually going to show this in my vlog, and I could have shown it today and I forgot to bring it up here. But those of you who have seen a lot of my videos, you've probably seen me using this already. For the last several years, my favorite clamp of all was an inner tube. And what I did was I just cut strips out of the inner tube about 3/4 of an inch wide. In other words, I start cutting in the circle all the way around the inner tube and 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 around the inner tube until I ran out of inner tube. And I kept the scissors. I was cutting it with the scissors, and I tried to keep the strip about 3/4 of an inch wide. So then I ended up with a strip that's like, 50 feet long, 40 feet long, something like that. And you take and wrap that sucker around there. It doesn't slip because it's rubber, number one, so it'll hold, and it puts an immense amount of pressure on it because you can stretch it as you're pulling it tight, and you get 4 or 5 wraps around there. That sucker's tight. And that's my favorite of all clamping methods for body work. In other words, if you got a glue binding on, that long inner tube wrapped around the body like that, pulls that binding right in there really tight. Plus, it doesn't slip again on those curved edges because you can go different directions around the body on those curves with that rubber. I'm telling you, the rubber inner tube thing, once you go that way, you'll never change. It's just awesome. I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out, but for the last maybe 4 years or 5 years, something like that, I was using the rubber inner tube, and it's killer. I mean, it's really good. It's worth making it, even if you don't have a use for it right now. You'll use it eventually. It's really good to use. Let's see. The dowels help line it up, but clamping is really hard. Yeah. Well, the only other thing I could suggest in terms of the clamping, again, I would make some kind of a jig like this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but some kind of a jig to hold the neck still and to hold the body still, and so that you can actually clamp the two down. Then, you force it together, and then if you had to, once you get the jig made properly, you might even be able to take a pipe clamp and pull it together, or some kind of a clamp that would pull, and get it to pull the body to the neck. It takes some rigging. I'm not saying it'd be simple or easy, but there'd be some way you could possibly do that too. But once you get the jig made like I'm talking about here, generally speaking, that's all you need. It'll pretty much push it together, and, the dowels should line it up well enough for you to make it work. I don't know. But that's what I would recommend, is making some kind of a fixture. You need a fixture to hold it still. Both pieces. Well, anyway, guys, I think that's it. I don't have anything else, and looks like the comments have dried up. So I thank you very much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully with a flat anvil, and maybe I'll get something else done if I can get that out of my hair. Talk to you then.